If you walked into Harbor Freight's welding section right now and stood in front of everything they sell, you would be looking at machines ranging from under $140 to over $1,000, covering 5 completely different welding processes, 2 voltage requirements, 3 brand tiers, and enough acronyms: MIG, TIG, SMAW, FCAW, PAC, that it feels less like a tool aisle and more like someone scrambled an alphabet. Most people stare at it for 4 minutes, pick the cheapest thing that looks like a welder, and go home with a machine that either cannot do what they need or can do things they will never use. This script is the thing you needed before you walked in. Every welding machine Harbor Freight sells, explained by who it is actually for, in the order you should think about them. The mistake most first-time welders make is picking the machine before picking the process. Process means, what are you actually trying to do to metal? Join it? Cut it? Do it outdoors? Do it on dirty, rusty metal? Do it on thin automotive sheet metal? Do it on aluminum? The answer to that question determines the correct machine before the price tag matters at all. Harbor Freight sells 3 welding brands in 2025. Titanium for hobbyists and garage welders, Vulcan for professionals and serious enthusiasts, and Burger, a newer 3-in-1 entry sitting between them. Knowing which brand tier matches your use case eliminates most of the confusion before you read a single spec. If you are the kind of person who wants to weld something that is already outside and slightly rusty, and you do not own a gas cylinder and have no particular desire to acquire one, the Titanium Easy Flux 125 is your machine. It weighs 15 pounds, over 50% lighter than old transformer-based welders, runs on the standard 120-volt outlet in your garage or barn, uses flux core wire that creates its own shielding gas from the wire itself, and costs $139.99. It is the simplest welder Harbor Freight sells, and it is simple in a good way. No gas hose to connect, no regulator to adjust, no cylinder to lease. You plug it in, set the wire speed and voltage, and weld. Outdoor repairs, trailer hitches, farm gates, fence posts. This is the tool. The weld appearance is rougher than MIG on clean metal, but for structural work where appearance is not the priority, the Easy Flux 125 does exactly what it says on the front of the box. If you want cleaner welds and you are working indoors on clean or prepared metal, automotive bodywork, furniture fabrication, general shop repair, then you need a MIG welder with shielding gas. This means a gas cylinder, a regulator, and a welding wire that does not have flux in the core. The Titanium MIG 140 runs on 120 volts, handles steel up to approximately 3/16 of an inch, and costs approximately $199. If you want slightly more output and a wider wire range while staying on 120-volt power, the Titanium MIG 170 steps up from there. Both are the correct machines for people whose garage has standard outlets and who are not planning to wire a dedicated 240-volt circuit. The 120-volt ceiling is real. Above 3/16 of an inch on steel, 120-volt MIG machines start struggling. But for most home garage applications, the ceiling is high enough. If you are finding this useful, subscribe now. The rest of this video covers the machines that beginners are afraid to look at, but probably need, and the one category most people completely overlook. Here is where Harbor Freight's welding lineup gets interesting for anyone willing to install a 240-volt circuit, which is cheaper than most people assume and involves a $40 breaker and an afternoon if you are comfortable with residential electrical work. The Vulcan OmniPro 220 is the machine most serious hobbyists and small shop professionals end up wishing they had bought the first time. $1,099.99. MIG, TIG, stick, and flux core in a single machine. 120 or 240-volt input. 132 preloaded welding programs with internal memory for your own saved settings. Full-color LCD display. Weld steel up to 1/8 inch on 120 volts and up to 3/8 inch on 240. The upgrade from a titanium MIG 140 to the Vulcan OmniPro 220 costs approximately $900 and gives you TIG for precision stainless work, stick for heavy plate or field repairs, 240 capability for thicker material, and a machine that will still be the right tool 15 years from now, regardless of what your welding needs become. If you buy the Easy Flux 125 first, and then the MIG 140, and then the OmniPro 220, you spend roughly $1,400 in sequential upgrades. If you buy the OmniPro 220 first, you spend $1,100. The math on skipping to the OmniPro is not subtle. If your primary process is TIG, meaning you work in stainless steel pipe, aluminum fabrication, or precision thin gauge work where the heat control that TIG provides is not optional but required, the Vulcan ProTIG 205 is a dedicated machine rather than a multi-process unit. 205 amps of AC and DC TIG output. Welds any metal up to 5/16 of an inch in a single pass. Comes in the box with a foot pedal, an air-cooled TIG torch, a work clamp, a regulator, and a starter consumable kit. Most TIG machines at this price point make you source that equipment separately. The ProTIG 205 includes everything needed to start TIG welding except the shielding gas and the filler rods. A C-TIG mode handles aluminum cleaning action. If you are a fabricator who welds aluminum regularly and you have been holding off on TIG because of the entry cost, the ProTIG 205 is the machine that removed most of the financial objection. The titanium 65 amp plasma cutter handles the cutting side of the metalworking equation. Plasma cutting versus an angle grinder is the difference between a surgical instrument and a hammer. Plasma cuts faster, leaves a narrower kerf, produces less heat distortion in the surrounding material, and handles stainless steel, cast iron, aluminum, and copper that a standard cutting disc struggles with. The titanium 65 amp plasma cutter cuts up to 1 inch thick and costs $999.99 online. Its 4.5-star average from over 100 reviews is among the highest in Harbor Freight's welding section. The documented caveat is consumables. The plasma torch tips and electrodes are specific to this cutter and are not interchangeable with Lincoln or Hypertherm consumables. So when you buy this machine, buy spare tips and electrodes at the same time unless you enjoy ordering online while a job waits. If you need to weld somewhere without a power outlet, a remote farm location, a construction site in the middle of nowhere, an emergency repair on equipment that cannot be moved, the Vulcan Outlaw 6000 is a welder and a generator in the same machine. Up to 195 amps of DC arc welding output and 6,000 running watts of generator power on a wheel kit you can roll across a job site. It is not the machine for someone who has grid power. It is the only machine for someone who does not. And no other Harbor Freight welder comes close to solving that specific problem. The buying decision from all of this reduces to 5 questions in order. First, does your work happen outdoors on unprepped metal? Easy Flux 125. Second, do you weld indoors on clean metal on standard garage power? Titanium MIG 140 or MIG 170. Third, do you want a permanent shop machine that handles every process and you are willing to run 240-volt power? Vulcan OmniPro 220. Fourth, is TIG your primary process and are you working on aluminum or precision stainless regularly? Vulcan ProTIG 205. Fifth, do you need to cut rather than join? Or do you need to weld where there is no power? Titanium 65 amp plasma cutter or Vulcan Outlaw 6000, respectively. The OmniPro 220 covers 90% of what most people actually need. The rest of the lineup covers the 10% it does not. The price gap between Harbor Freight's top-tier machine and an equivalent Lincoln or Miller is real, measured in hundreds of dollars. And, for a garage or small shop welder who is not running production hours, not particularly meaningful in the welds that come out of either machine. If this gave you a clear answer about which machine fits your situation, subscribe. The tool decisions that feel complicated almost always simplify to one question you did not know to ask. And asking the process question before the price question is the one that matters most in a welding aisle.